That day in the chemistry lab wasn't just the end of Brandon's bullying. It was the beginning of his awakening. Because sometimes life doesn't destroy you, it rebuilds you through the people who refuse to give up on you. And Miss Carter? She wasn't just a teacher. She was proof that the strongest warriors aren't the ones who fight wars overseas, but the ones who fight for broken hearts in their own classrooms. Time seemed to slow. Miss Carter's training surged back, the drills, the combat, the discipline. She didn't need to think. Her body knew what to do. With lightning speed, she shifted her weight, twisting Brandon's wrist in a way that forced his hand to release her throat. A swift pivot of her foot hooked behind his leg, and before Brandon realized it, the towering football star was on the ground, gasping for breath, staring up at his teacher. The class erupted. Some cheered. Some screamed. But no one looked away. "Get up, MS." Carter said calmly, her voice steady, her breathing controlled. Brandon scrambled to his feet, furious, humiliated. You think you can embarrass me," he roared, charging again. This time Miss Carter sidestepped like water flowing past stone. One movement, one precise strike, and Brandon was pinned against the lab counter, his own arm twisted behind his back. "Listen to me, Brandon," she said in a low voice only he could hear. "Strength isn't about fear. It's about control. And right now, you've lost all of it." The weight of her words hit harder than her moves. For the first time, Brandon's arrogance cracked. He wasn't in control. He wasn't the biggest force in the room. The principal was called. Police arrived. Phones captured everything. Brandon's football dreams shattered as the video spread across the school, then the town, then the internet. He wasn't a hero anymore, he was a cautionary tale. But the story didn't end there. A week later, MS. Carter found Brandon sitting alone after school, his once proud face buried in his hands. The disciplinary board had expelled him, scholarships gone, friends disappeared. His world collapsed. Most teachers would have walked past. But Miss Carter, she sat down beside him. "You ruined yourself," he muttered bitterly. "No," she said gently. "You've been given a chance to rebuild. The question is, what kind of man do you want to become now?" Tears filled his eyes. No one had ever spoken to him like that. Not with pity. Not with hate. But with hope. And for the first time, Brandon listened. It all happened in seconds. A crowded chemistry lab, the sharp smell of alcohol burners, glass beakers clinking. Then, a chair scraped, a voice thundered, and before anyone could blink, a teenage bully's hand was around his teacher's throat. Gasps filled the room. Some students froze in horror. Some pulled out their phones. But no one expected what happened next. Because that teacher, the quiet woman in her mid-30s with soft eyes and a calm voice, wasn't just a teacher. Before this school, before the whiteboard and lesson plans, she carried secrets written in the scars on her arms. A past in desert sands and midnight missions. A past that had trained her to face monsters far greater than a spoiled teenage bully. And in that moment, the bully had no idea. He had just awakened a warrior. Miss Evelyn Carter wasn't like most teachers at Ridgeway High. She rarely raised her voice, never flaunted authority, and preferred listening to lecturing. Students often whispered about her mysterious calmness, how nothing rattled her, not failing experiments, not broken glass, not even the pranks the seniors pulled. She carried herself with a serenity that felt unusual in a high school full of chaos. But peace is often misunderstood as weakness. That's what Brandon Cole thought. Brandon wasn't just another teenager, he was the bully everyone feared. Big for his age, his football muscles made him intimidating. His loud laugh echoed in hallways. He thrived on humiliating others, grabbing books, tripping kids, making girls cry with cruel words. And no teacher had ever truly stopped him. Why would Miss Carter be any different? The tension built for weeks. Brandon tested her, mocking her slow walk, tossing chalk at the board, whispering cruel jokes while she wrote equations. But Miss Carter never snapped. She only looked at him with steady eyes and told him, calmly, "Brandon, you are more than the way you behave. One day, you'll see that." The other students didn't know whether to admire her patience or pity her. Because Brandon was only growing more restless. The breaking point came during a chemistry lab. The class was full of energy, Bunsen burners flickering, students scribbling results, glass beakers steaming. Brandon, partnered with a quiet boy named David, grew frustrated when their experiment failed. Smoke puffed, and Brandon slammed the table. "You idiot. You messed it up," he barked, shoving David so hard his glasses nearly fell. "Brandon, that's enough," Miss Carter said firmly, stepping closer. But Brandon wasn't finished. He wanted to show everyone who was in control. The rage in him had been building for weeks, and now it erupted. Before anyone could stop him, Brandon grabbed Miss Carter by the throat. The room went silent. Gasps. Screams. Phones raised. The unthinkable was happening. Brandon smirked, squeezing harder, enjoying the look of shock in his classmates' eyes. "What now, teacher?" he sneered. But what he saw in her eyes wasn't fear.